First take, at least when I've been here.
I think so.
Chris Webber in the building. C-Web, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah. All right, so you just heard LeBron. It's a hot topic on our conversation. We already discussed it earlier, and I got into it a little bit, but ring culture. Where are you on this?
I think they're different conversations.
Okay.
I don't think someone's a scrub because they did not win a championship, especially if you were a bus driver, like if you were the guy responsible leading your team.
Yeah.
But, it's certain rooms that, if you don't have the rings, you're not, allowed in. And what I mean by that is you shouldn't be. And so I think that's the best part about sports is that anyone can lose. Like to act like you just won a ring means the NBA is that sweet or is that soft. You know what I mean? And so I think that sometimes we put too much on rings, but I do think rings count. I would have to say that. So my favorite players like a Barkley or Malone and others, of course, Malone's one of the greatest players ever. But if you do put a ring into that, I get the conversation.
Yeah, there's a door, but everyone doesn't respect that door.
Yeah.
Right? So if you say, we're going to take all the guys who made the Hall of Fame, and then we separate them guys by rings, no one is sitting at some of those tables because no one cares.
Yeah.
Right? Some of your rings don't matter because you wasn't that guy. Right? Mm-hmm. You don't have a ring, but you was that guy. Your peers would say, I'm sitting with him.
Yeah.
Right? Like with you, Rasheed, Tim Duncan, KG, if them two have rings, Tim Duncan is gonna say, yo, sit with me. There's there's ringless guys that he's gonna respect over guys who got a ring on somebody else's back.
Yeah.
Gil pointed out, so you were talking about this in the first hour, and as I've had an opportunity to really absorb your points, I'm gonna concede that you and LeBron are right. I get where you're coming from. I'm gonna compartmentalize this rather than differ. As players, y'all know, you out there, you doing your thing, etc. Said like, yo, I had to drive this bus. Did you see what I was playing with? Like you pointed out earlier. I mean, damn, look at what I had to work with. You see what I'm saying? I get that part. What I'm saying is that as a pundit, as a journalist, as somebody that chronicles the sport and stuff like that, let's understand that if you're the audience out there, you want to hear that from cats after you finished. The last thing you want is to encounter a player in the throes of competition that's giving you the impression it shouldn't matter, that shouldn't define me. Now, when it's over, that's fine.
Right.
When you talk about the Hall of Fame, that's fine. When your career is over and then we chronicle everything that you've accomplished, all right, and we're writing your sports epitaph and what have you, that's different than being in the midst of competition, still having years to go, and your attitude is, well, listen, I just go out there and play, but the championship shouldn't be that important. Because if you're a fan, you got to remember, you're emotionally invested. And when you're emotionally invested, you want to look at a cat and you want to be like this. They just as emotionally invested, if not more, 10 times more because you're participating than we are. And I think that's where the challenge comes in terms of narratives and how people define X, Y, and Z.
You want to chime in?
Yeah, I mean, let me just say this. It's painful not winning the championship, right? It's painful. And then in the culture we were in, for me not to go to a team that I was playing against and try to win one, because I could have gone to San Antonio. I could have gone to other teams. And at the time, it was I'd rather lose by myself than join the enemy, because I thought that that's the way it was when I saw Dominique and Bird and Isaiah, But at the same time, if I was in this culture, best believe I'd go play with some people that I got a great relationship with and try to win one. So it is that balance. But yeah, you should put it all on the floor. You should be crying if you don't win that championship. But at the end of the day, we know the players that we still would accept without that.
You still respect, but let's talk about that, because that's interesting, the ring chasing. And now that happens. So are you diminishing a player's legacy if they're jumping around at this point versus a player, say a Giannis, for example, say he decides to stay, he's going to ride it out, and he knows that Dame's not playing this year, and that, you know what I mean? And he's deciding to stay rather than to jump around to win a championship.
Okay.
Because that's where it gets tricky.
When you're talking about the greats, no one ever factors in the city that they played in, right? When you're talking about Kobe didn't leave, he's not leaving California, right? The Bulls, they're not leaving Boston. Well, everyone is coming there. Are we not factoring in the guys who are there calling for help, right? You're calling for help. And when the guy comes there and helps you win, why does that guy get destroyed? Right? Why does his legacy is destroyed? You called him for help. Right? That's like Batman. You put the Batman sign up there, Batman shows up.
Let me ask you
He's a hero.
Because when Dame went to Milwaukee, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, Dame, stay. This is my feeling.
Yeah.
Because I'm
old basketball.
Stay in Portland because he's not gonna win a championship in Milwaukee, and you gave up your whole legacy to go to Milwaukee, and now, if old boy gets traded.
But there were cats that thought that him and Giannis could.
Oh, no. I believe you. And if I'm him, I believe I'm going there and I'm believing I could. I played with guys, I'll be like, yeah, I believe we could. Don't get me wrong. But when he left there, I said, you're leaving all of that in Portland for this one chance, and Giannis may not stay. So it's the stakes. And I won't say he's ring chasing, but I will say he's letting something go by giving that up.
I'll throw this at both of y'all. It's just a question. What are we to make? It'd be one thing if it's people like myself and others who didn't play on that level saying this. What about a guy like Magic Johnson? I remember when Ant-Man made the mistake of saying, quote, man, please, I think that today's play, the only person back in the day that I would consider that talented was Michael Jordan. And so Magic Johnson said, I don't listen to anybody that's never won anything. So what I'm saying is, what are we to say? That's not me. That's not some other. That's not some other.
There's got to be outliers. There has to be outliers that just weren't in the right situation, the right team. That there's other factors that you can't control.
But I'm asking a 5-time champion.
Yeah, it's easier for him to say it because he got drafted to.
Okay.
You have the MVP of the league when you got drafted. Right. I will hope you guys win 5 championships in 8 years, which has never been done. Right? He's the youngest player to have 5 rings. There's a reason. You win a championship, then you get the #1 pick.
Right.
James Worthy. And he comes off the bench.
But,
how good is that team?
No.
But you know what I mean? So it's easier for him.
No, I agree.
You know what I'm saying? It's easier for him to talk.
I agree with you. What I'm saying. I agree with you. What I'm saying, however, is this. Every champion has not been in the kind of situation Magic was in, but almost all of them feel that way about people who haven't won championships that would in any way denigrate them. Their attitude is, wait a minute, you haven't done X, Y, and Z. I'm asking, what are we to think when we hear a Hall of Famer, maybe it's not Magic, maybe it's somebody else that has that criteria? Because one of the things I religiously tell Molly this and everybody else on First Take, I don't get my opinions just out of thin air. Yeah, I watch, I study, etc., etc. You know how many Hall of Famers text me? Yo, hold them to the same standard. You did this to us. You held us to this. Wait, don't let them off the hook. So somebody might be critical of a LeBron. Somebody might be critical of somebody else. And it's cats from old school, 90s, 80s, etc., who won championships that's trying to define the standard. What do you say to that?
It's no different. A championship is running through the finish line.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That doesn't determine how fast you are as a person.
Okay.
Right? It doesn't say anything. You just finished. So you're using the championship as the cake when the championship is the cherry on top.
Okay.
The championship is the end piece. You're taking away the body of work.
Yeah.
And saying